Hey, Mishka, thanks for joining us.
Yo, what's up, Omar? How are you?
I am stoked to have you on the show again, my man. How you feeling?
I'm good. How you been?
I've been fantastic. As far as being quarantined in Costa Rica, if you're going to be quarantined anywhere, it might as well be Costa Rica.
Yeah, exactly. Are you down there full time now?
I have been in Costa Rica now. I celebrated 20 years last year.
That's killer, man. I got to make it down there at some point. I've been meaning to do it forever, and then it's just life keeps getting in the way.
It's amazing, but I'll go to the States, I'll go to different places, and every time I come back, every time the airplane lands in Costa Rica and I get off the airplane, I immediately think, oh, I'm so glad I'm home.
Yeah.
Costa Rica's been my home for so long that I know, and I love the States, man. I'm from California originally, so every time I visit, it's like the food and the people and the environment, you know what I mean? It's like, damn, like California. But as soon as I land, it's like, oh, I'm home. So it's become home.
That's great.
You're in Arizona.
I am in Phoenix, Arizona. It's about to get hotter than hell here, but it's not too terrible right now. But I think this week it's going to hit 100 and then no looking back for 4 months.
Good Lord. And you're staying there the whole time?
Well, I had a big European tour booked. When I moved here, my plan was to to just be on tour in Europe and Canada for 4 months every summer. And that's, I don't know if you've been reading the news, man, but that's kind of out the window right now.
It's all out the window. Yeah, I know. I'm like, hey, so how are you for the 20th? And you're like, wide open.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. More wide open than I ever wanted to be. I've been teaching writing at Yale during the summers, and that's such, of all the different hats that I wear, it's the most challenging, it's the most exhausting, it's the most invigorating thing that I do. That got canceled. Big European tour of UK, Netherlands, Spain, that's all in the shitter. But you know what? My mom is healthy. I'm healthy. My friends and family are healthy. So who cares? Who cares about the other stuff? I got my cat. My cat's healthy. I got enough food for her. Got enough food for me. You know what I mean? Like there's a big thing lately about shitting on boomers. About like losing perspective, and that's good. That's fine. I'm down with that. I like taking a cheap shot at my folks whenever I can, but also they lived through stuff that I haven't, that younger friends of mine certainly haven't. My mom comes from a family of 17 kids. She was number 2.
Ooh, wow.
They grew up living in a lean-to on the side of the house of a farmhouse in northern Saskatchewan. Didn't have running water until she went away to college. Using an outhouse in the winter. Can you imagine?
I'm still stuck with 17 kids.
Yeah, dude. It's a different world, So when I look at, some of the hardships that, we're dealing with right now, of like, my organic spinach in my fridge is a little wilty right now. Like, no, that's fine. That's fine.
That is great perspective. Great perspective. We are so spoiled. We don't know how to suffer, as a culture, right?
Yeah.
When we think about, like, my mom's from Cuba, so yeah. So just think about just the different atrocities that have happened that we weren't even born to be a part of.
Lived through there.
Yeah, and now everybody's worried about toilet paper and not being able to take a walk outside. It's just. It's incredible, which is interesting. Now, the other question I was going to ask you: are you in the van, or are you in a house?
No, I have a house here. I toured for 5 months without a break, and then I was like, oh, now I'm crazy. Now I'm like talking to myself, insane, and and I need to, and I was like, I need to live in a place. And then my mom was living here, and I was like, I'm just going to, rent an apartment. And then I looked at the cost of renting an apartment versus buying a place, and it was cheaper to buy a place. So I bought a, crappy old little rundown house, and I love it.
Perfect.
It's starting to feel like home here.
As long as you got air conditioner, you got air conditioner there?
I do. I absolutely do.
Really luxury problems. You know, I can't leave my air conditioned house.
Yeah. It is, man. It's all perspective. It's just, it's sometimes it's just taking like a larger view on, and I think about, and also, I lived in New York for 17 years. Like, my best friends, my favorite people in the world are still in New York City, and they're just getting hammered by this, and, I read an article recently about a woman in Detroit who lost her son and her husband to it. That's the only family she has left on this world, and I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine, dude.
Well, and I want to dive into cold turkey, but real quick, I just want to get now because we have the opportunity to have a sense of humor, because really you do. You need to be able to have a sense of humor. You need to be able to kind of laugh at this is for some people, this is really, really tough. Like, I cannot compare someone's level of suffering when they haven't experienced levels of suffering like our parents have. Okay. So you do not, just because what you consider to be suffering yourself, other people are like, what, are you kidding me? You call this, suffering? It can't, you can't remove the fact that other people do not have the coping skills to deal with this level. If you've been privileged and you're just comfortable and you've been living on this planet long enough to never have to face atrocities, and this is like some tough shit to deal with. But I also think it's a cosmic wake-up call. For me, it's really Mother Nature kind of reminding us that we're not as in charge as we think we are, and we can't just be running around, desecrating the planet. So I think that there's a lot to be learned. And, I asked my guests, what they think. Well, what do you believe?
I was talking to a buddy about this, and I was like, well, we did demand radical action on climate change.
Fuck yeah.
We're getting that. Absolutely. The skies have never been clearer. There's never been less pollution, it's, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get all doom and gloom about it. I'm not a fan of Trump. I think he's a terrible person. I hope bad things happen to him and his family. I think that, I hope that the way that this functions, with coronavirus is that, we do see, that we see an end to this like radical, the huge divide between the mega rich and the mega poor, and that we see a more equitable distribution of wealth, and hopefully this breaks those systems that have been built to strip the money away from the poorest people in the world and put that money in the pockets of the richest people in the world. And hopefully this doesn't do the opposite of deepening those systems. I have a lot of friends who didn't like Hillary Clinton with good reason. I think there's a lot of reasons, that she was a bad candidate. And they were like, oh, fuck it, man. I'm going to vote for Trump, burn it down. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. When you say burn it down, it's not like they just take the Etch-a-Sketch and shake it and then build a new system. When you say burn it down, what you mean is deepen the grips of the kleptocracy, and we're seeing Trump and his family just, and his, mega rich billionaire friends just, siphon all this wealth off the country. I hope that it's a hard price to pay, but I hope that this coronavirus and his mishandling of it in the United States is a huge wake-up call, and people realize that there's no leadership in our leadership. and that things change radically. But I could also see how, he's able to spin it that like, I'm the daddy, I'm the leader, you got to trust me, and like I saved you from it being much, much worse, and then people go in on him again. I don't know, dude. I mean, this is the thing. Like when we talk about the end of the world, well, it's not the world ending.
Fuck, it ain't the end of the world, man. This is
It's
fucking
us.
wake-up call. This is, and we ain't fucking
us that would be ending.
Who's gonna be? I mean, like, when was the last time the fucking Earth was wiped out? You know what I mean? Like, we're not. I mean, we were just talking about your mom. You know what I mean? And what she had to face. We got a fucking cold that we're, that's preventing people from going outside and people fucking staying at home and shit. No. It's really more of, and I get this, like, the distribution of wealth is ridiculous. Okay, everything has gone out of whack. And the thing is that as human beings, we have not been able to rectify this situation. It just gets worse and worse and worse, right? So Mother Nature comes in and goes, all right, I'm going to fix this shit. And so my idea is if the best case scenario for humans is the worst case scenario for the planet, and actually the worst case scenario if we're talking about how the distribution of wealth is, right? The longer this lasts, the more Mother Nature has a chance to really have us all reevaluate our values and our priorities, what's important, right? And how to make this planet more sustainable for all of us. Yeah. Because with the massive amount of people on this planet, there's never been this many people on the earth ever. Yeah. So obviously something needs to change, right? If half the people of the currently inhabiting the earth died, it's still more than we've ever had on the planet ever, right? So we're not going to get wiped out. It's really more like there's a spiritual awakening here. There's a cosmic awakening here. We're not being cool to each other. Yeah. We need to treat each other better.
Yeah. It's, also like when things go back to normal, the new normal will not be the same as the old normal.
I hope not.
Things have changed now forever, and I mean, I remember, growing up and like sort of, recently, like in the last 5 years, going to like punk rock shows, and you just go and it's just this big sweaty throng of humanity, and everybody's like jumping up and down at the same time and singing and dancing along to the, to the band. And like, you go home and like wake up smelling like everybody else's BO. And it was like comforting somehow that we're just this big, sweaty mass of humanity. They're community. We're all participating in this together, Is that going to come back? I don't know, man. I don't know that people are going to be real eager to like,
that's sweat all over each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that we battle with as entertainers on the road anyway, is that we're building such a separated, a delivery culture, of like Netflix streams to your house, Amazon delivers to your house, Postmates, and like all this stuff. And where people are not going out and participating in these community events, and I think that's one of the things that really like binds us together, so I fear that, as far as like live music and comedy and performance, that it's going to take us forever to recover from this. And and a lot of the venues, like they're done,
There's going to be a radical change. We're going to need to adjust. We're all going to need to adjust. And I think that to a certain degree, we're all going to have to sacrifice to some point. And we're going to have to, like, what is our purpose? Like, that's the question everyone should be asking moving forward. We don't know when this is going to end. But in the meantime, the idea to go inside and ask yourself, how can I become a better person? How can I show up in this world better? Because we've been showing up so shitty for so long now, right? Just in general, to how we treat the planet, how we treat each other. Like, I was talking to somebody recently who said they're walking in the streets. I think it was either New York or LA or somewhere, one of those main streets where most of the time people are so busy in their own shit, they don't pay attention to anybody else. But he said, I was actually walking out in the street and other people were walking across and they waved at me. Like it was so, and I'm like, oh my God. So we're becoming fucking human beings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, is that such a horrible thing?
It's so easy to get lost, to go astray too, because, you know, I just said one of the reasons I wound up living here is because of my mom. She, you know, she was living 45 minutes from where I am, but, you know, I had an opportunity to get her living closer to me. So now she lives 4 doors down the street. And I've been, since this hit, you know, out of sort of like panic and fear, I'm like, oh, I gotta take care of my mom, you know, and I've like just been busting my ass, like working super hard and like, you know, 10, 12-hour days or whatever. And then I finally realized the other night, I was like, wait, why am I working so hard? You know, well, you know, for my mom, so that like, you know, I can enjoy her company. Like, when's the last time I saw her? When's the last time we had coffee? When's the last time we hung out together? And I was like, yo, mom, you want to get dinner sometime? And she was like, yeah. You know, I was like, oh shit. You know, it's like, you know, you can't see the forest for the trees. You know, I'm sort of like, and it's easy to just get lost in that obsession with money, obsession with productivity, obsession with efficiency, and like, you know, and forget why we're doing it. You know, money is a means to an end. It's not the end itself. Money is a tool, and unless you're using it, it's useless. You know, so I don't know.
We're going to segue, but you know, this is what's important about this conversation is we typically, at least with my guests, we land here. We realize we need to be better humans.
Yeah.
We need to spend more time with the people that we're working so hard to support. That, you know, I've got to work. What people are discovering is that, you know, people that are in marriages that are no longer functioning, now that they've been forced to spend a month together, it's crystal clear. This is not, we got to get out of this, right? Or you realize, I really miss my wife. I really miss my husband. This is so nice for us to be spending this time. Yeah. You know, those traditional family values are coming back. So here's the thing. There's so much, because guys, I haven't even introduced Mishka. All right. So let me do that first. So today I'm super excited to announce that we have Mishka Shubaly joining us again on the show. What's up? So Mishka is he's about to release an audiobook, and it's only available on audio, right?
Yes, that's correct. Okay.
It's called Cold Turkey: How to Quit Drinking by Not Drinking. Mishka's new sobriety audiobook, Cold Turkey: How to Quit Drinking by Not Drinking, will be out in audio for free in May. Is that also true?
Yes.
Awesome. It deals specifically with how he got sober without rehab and how he stays sober without AA. It's funny, it's dark, it's gritty, it's profane. I will attest to that. I felt like I was listening to it. I felt like it was a combination between Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Requiem for a Dream. Like, I mean, it was a fucking roller coaster, right? It comes with a disclaimer, folks. This book contains the opinions and experiences of the author. It is not intended as medicinal advice. The reader should consult a physician about any condition that may require medical attention or treatment. Sound about right, Mishka?
Yeah, I hate that part. I'm glad you quoted my least favorite part of that book. I was like, nah, just leave it out. Like we live in such a litigious world that like you,
dude, you need that.
Yeah, you always have to put that shit in because like, so you don't get sued, and you know, I think it's crazy. I mean, yeah, obvious. I mean, I try. That's one of the things in the Audible original. I say again and again, I'm not a doctor. This is based on my own personal experience. This is stuff that I went through. Here's how I think you can do it better. You know, but it was, you know, I never intended to make this. I was never like, I'm going to write a self-help book for Audible and it's going to be just an audiobook. But having written The Long Run and having written about my alcoholism and my sobriety, my sort of transformation through running, and then, publishing I Swear I'll Make It Up to You, I get so many messages from people saying, how do I do it? And you try to answer everyone, but it's just too much for one person. And also, like, you find that you're saying the same stuff again and again and again. And then Audible reached out to me, and they said, we would love it if you would write a self-help book about how to get sober, how to stay sober without AA. And I was like, and I'll be honest with you, that honesty is the only thing that I bring to the table. I think I didn't want to do it. I needed the fucking money. And so I signed up to do it. And then when I got into it, I realized, holy shit, I have a lot to say on this subject. And I care about it a lot. And it was to the point where, my editors there were like, okay, we're done. And I'm like, no, I got one more thing I want to fit in here. I got one more thing to say. I have one more, and I don't know, man, I'm really proud of it. I think that I did everything I could to take the piss out of all the Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz and Dr. Drew and all those hucksters and charlatans who are it's just this cult of narcissism. They just want to see their face on the screen. They want a swimming pool, and then they want a swimming pool for their swimming pool. And it's bullshit. And so what I just tried to do was download all the information that I've acquired through 10 years of imperfect sobriety, of struggling with sobriety, of dealing with my depression and my anxiety and rootlessness, and having relationships fall apart, and having my cat die, and and just how to navigate the world, So I tried to just cram all of that in there in a way that would reach people in a way that I wanted to speak to them in a language that people can understand, because a lot of times we're too polite. In my writing class, I sit down with my students and I'm like, yo, everybody look around, look at the people sitting next to you, people sitting across you. We've all pissed the bed. All right. We've all shit our pants. We all carry horrible secrets. This is the human condition. Let's stop pretending that all that other shit doesn't happen and hasn't happened. And instead, let's have a real, genuine human connection where we draw strength from sharing our weakness. Let's talk about these things. Let's get rid of all the shame and the guilt about it, and instead just say, well, this is the situation that you're dealing with on the ground today. How do I deal with this? How do I get through this? How do we move forward?
I'll tell you, and I got to give you guys, my listeners, my own disclaimer on this. Halfway through the book, I'm asking myself, why am I still listening to this? I think I've been sober for too long now. Okay. I think I forgot. Okay. So, I'm about to celebrate 17 years, but you've got, awesome. Yeah, thank you. But I was like, how can he say this shit? Right. But I got to tell you something. It's interesting how it evolves, because I'm listening, and Mishka is the one who narrates the book. So you're listening to Mishka. So before you know it, it's like you're walking with Mishka, right? And then Mishka's just talking to you, right? Cut the bullshit, stop fucking lying to yourself, right? And it's like, yeah, stop. After a while, it stops being so abrasive, and it starts being soothing. There's this real nice narrative shift. Was that the idea?
A lot of these things just sort of happen organically. And one of the things that I didn't put in the book that I think I probably should have is that, when I'm saying all these things of cut the bullshit, the first person I'm speaking to is me.
Yeah, of course.
All the things that I go through there that I talk about, people falling prey to nihilism or self-defeating moves and stuff. Like, I've done all that shit. And that's the only reason that I have any, familiarity with it. And that's why I can speak about it and speak to it. But yeah, that was a jarring experience for me too, going back to write it, to try and think about, like, what was that first week like? And I was like, holy shit, I've blocked that from my mind for a reason, because it was fucking miserable. It was so hard. And I wasn't the person then that I am now. And I didn't have the tools now, I didn't have the tools then that I have now. And going back there and sort of like really, my Gmail, I've had the same Gmail account. So I went back and looked at emails that I was writing and receiving in that time period to see where my head was at. And I was like, oh my God, you're fucking crazy. Like, you're just out of your head, So, yeah, it sucked to go back and re-immerse myself in that. But I felt that I had to, in order to speak to people who are like about to quit or trying to quit or trying to, just that first crucial week, that first crucial month, of just getting through it.
So why just audio?
Well, I was sort of a writing nerd my whole life. And one of the things that I really appreciate is how different mediums interact with people differently. And I think that it would be easy to read my words and to hear it or to experience it in the wrong way. But a big thing for me with this project was, I want to be right there with you, with the person who's suffering. I want it should be like we're walking together, like we're talking together, like I'm your roommate who's like, no, wake up. We're going to go for a long fucking walk. We got to talk about some of this shit, man. I have people reach out to me as if I'm their friend, because they've read so much of my stuff that they feel that they know me. So this was sort of like trying to return that I am your friend. Listen to me. Here's how you do it. Here's how it's done, or at least here's how I did it. And here's how I think people can do it. It was super important for it, for me, for it not to be like a laboratory thing or a textbook or something like that. I wanted it to be very personal, like we're on a road trip together or something like that,
Well, success, because that's exactly how I felt. Like at some point, it was like a movie. Yeah, literally. It's like I'm listening and you're narrating the story, right? And there's this whole like rock bottom moments and just the most grueling experiences. But then there's this, you're carrying us through, right? You're carrying us through, right? And there's these moments, it's your tone changes. So yeah, I felt like Mishka was right there. For example, like, well, before I go there, because I have another question, but this is real important for the listeners, okay? It deals specifically with how you got sober without rehab and how you stay sober without AA. Why is this part of the book and this conversation in general so important?
Okay. There's sort of a two-pronged thing there. I mean, and this feathers in perfectly with what we were talking about before. A lot of people don't have the resources to go to rehab. When I sort of hit that wall and I was like, I need to get better. I need to change my life. I didn't have health insurance. I didn't have money. I didn't have parents who were like willing to bankroll that. I had no safety net there, and this rehab industry has sprung up, and it's a multi-million-dollar, if not $1 billion industry, where they want repeat customers. You want to stay in a rehab that'll cost you $25,000 or $30,000.
On the low end.
Yeah, and that's for a month. You go to rehab twice, and that could be 4 years at college. I mean, it's like, so it's just insane to me. And I think that a lot of people will look at that and they're like, well, fuck it. It's cheaper to just keep drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to say is, well, no, there's a third option that you can do it yourself. People got sober before AA existed. People got sober before rehab existed. This is doable. I come from a very punk rock, do it yourself background. It's like anything that you can do on your own, you do on your own. I did it on my own. And one of the things that I found in 11 years of being sober is that my story is not an outlier. My story is not crazy or weird because I got sober without AA, without rehab. There's tons of other people like me out there. The other thing, about AA is that, so that was, so it was just sort of like a money or resources thing, for rehab. And the other thing, then the other part of it, the AA part of it, is that AA is not for everybody. I need to hit this hard that this, this Audible original, it's not anti-AA. I don't intend this as a takedown of the program or anybody in the program. If you're going to AA and if it's working for you, keep going. Don't let me fuck it up. Like whatever works for you, works for you. My point is just that there's more than one road to sobriety and to staying sober, and that if this method of going to AA doesn't work for you, that there's a bunch of other options available to you. Here's one of them. For me, I knew that AA wasn't going to work because it's based around theism. It's based around believing in a God. It's based around surrendering, admitting your powerlessness. Those were two things that really I was just like, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I think that there's a lot more there for to object to for women, for gay and lesbian folks, for people of color. AA was built, sort of for madmen. It's very much a white American male patriarchal. It's 70 years old and it hasn't been updated. And if they forced Huck Finn to evolve, they're going back and changing that text, they can change this text. Words need to, the language needs to evolve. It needs to become more inclusive. And I don't know.
No, I think, and that's, listen, that's perfect, and I obviously I just want to speak to it because listen, for example, in my community, the SRC, the Share Recovery Community, which is a private membership, right? So people pay $12 a month to be in my little membership group. So what that does is this, right? We remove people from the whole dogmatic nature of the 12 steps, and we provide more of a group therapy sort of environment. Okay, so more of a group therapy, talk therapy sort of thing where I've got people in there that are constantly relapsing, right? So what do they do immediately when they relapse? They come right back in. They go, guys, I relapsed, and I need your support. And there isn't the standard script associated with what comes when you go to 12 steps, right? So the idea is really more of supporting our members where they're at and really creating this idea of this very stable community that no matter what, we're not going to let you down. We're not going to turn our backs on you. And number two, there's none of this like, which really sucks because I'm a big fan of 12 steps in the sense of that's how I got sober. But when you start mentioning about the gay and lesbian population, we talk about the 13th stepping, we talk about I've heard stories from women that are so obscene, that are so disgusting. And it's just like, I can't find a way to defend it because you guys refuse to acknowledge it, refuse to evolve. Yeah. And instead it's like, this is the program. This is what's worked for years. And what you just said there, like for Anglo-Saxon white males, right? It's so true. The letter to the wives, I remember reading that and going, dude, how do women even stay in this fellowship after reading this? It's so offensive, right? Yeah. So really, it's more of recognizing that it's not the program itself that's flawed, right? It's no religion, education system, politics, right? What's the common denominator? Humans. And as soon as we'll fuck up anything, we're here now. It's the coronavirus. We fucked up things so bad that Mother Nature has stepped in. At some point, Mother Nature is going to need to step in and do this. But here's the thing that I think is so valuable, right? What you say. What's the difference between 0 and 1?
Yeah. That was a big thing for me, stumbling upon that. So what I say in the audiobook is the largest numerical difference you'll ever encounter is not the difference between 1 in a million or 1 in a billion, or it's the difference between 0 and 1. Because at 0 you have nothing. You're utterly alone. But if you have one friend, you're not alone. And I'm just, with this audiobook, I'm trying to be that friend. I'm trying to be that voice in people's ear to say, like, no, don't do that. You know that's bad for you. And don't cut yourself down and say that you can't do this, because you can do this. There is proof that you can do this. I have to contradict what you just said about the program of AA not being flawed. In my opinion, it is flawed. That's my opinion. What we're getting at though is that not every human being is alike, right?
And
in
actually,
that moment when you needed to get your shit together, there was something there that crystallized for you, that worked for you, and we have to value that. And I absolutely value that, you know. And I mean, no disrespect to so many of my friends, some of my not just my friends, but people I've learned a lot from personally have gone through the 12-step program, you know, so I'm grateful, you know, for it. But, you know, I love spicy food, right? You know, habaneros, jalapenos, any kind of spicy food, amazing. I have friends who are like, are you fucking kidding me? Why are you putting that poison in your body? I can't handle black pepper. Why would I, you know? So that's one of the things is, you know, with this audiobook, I'm just trying to say there's another way. If that didn't work for you, because it does work for some people and it's still working for some people, you know?
Well, I actually, you know, just to go back, I actually contradicted myself, right?
Okay.
Because I did say that it's outdated, letter to the wives, right?
Uh-huh.
And so the 12 steps, right? It's not necessarily the program itself. Okay. So I 100% agree. It's outdated, needs to be updated. We probably need a whole new 12-step fellowship where somebody goes in, takes all the good shit that you know, they like or what works, and remove the letter to the wives and the God aspect or whatever. But here's the thing. What I was able to do, and I think what a lot of people that have managed to get through the 12 steps is, we truly, honestly, were able to take what we need and leave the rest. I know that for some people, that's a tough pill to swallow, because it's like, as long as this is in here, I want nothing to do with it. But I was so fucking desperate, and I was alone, dude. I was a 0.
Yeah.
I had no one, right? I had no one. So when I came in, these fucking people welcomed me in, and I was like, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, man. I'm desperate. I've lost my wife, my business. I'm dying. You know what I mean? I'm just doing so much cocaine. I literally don't know how I'm still alive. And so it was like, I don't care. And then after a while, as soon as it started to land and things started to work and my life started to get better, I started to go, I don't know if I'm buying all this, right? But it's like somewhere along the lines, like, we're drug addicts, man. We're the most rebellious motherfuckers on the planet. If you listen to Mishka's story, he tells you to fuck off most of the book, right? I'm doing shit my way, right? It's just like you get to the point where you say, I'm doing it my way, and I'm doing it my way, until you're like, okay, yeah, my way's not working anymore, right?
Yeah.
And you realize you have holes in your own belief systems.
Yeah.
You recognize that even though this construct that you've been fighting against for so long, right, the rules, and I'm the outlier and all this shit, and I'm going to do it my way, and no one's going to tell me what to do, at some form you realize that it's flawed. right? And so the same thing there where it's like, I'm going to have to do something, but I can't do this shit alone. And there was one thing when I came to the end of your book, and when I realized that at some point, like 3/4 in, I realized that the reason why I was starting to feel so comfortable is because I had Mishka with me. And it's the audio book. Like I'm walking around. I'm like, oh, I've got this interview with Mishka coming up next week. So I got to get through the book. So every day I'd go for a walk and I'd listen to it. And after a while, I got used to listening to Mishka's voice. Okay. So it works. My question is this. There isn't a 30-day rehab that works. There isn't a 30-day, you can't, like this is part of the book. Part of your book is just quit for 30 days and you're going to realize your life is better. There isn't a fucking person on the planet, I guarantee you, that didn't quit drinking for 30 days and went, yep, dude, my life is so much worse. Like, it's just like so much more ridiculously worse than it's ever. No, right? The question, and what's funny is Mishka talks about there's no, this is not a fucking life hack. There's so many great sobriety hacks in there. It's incredible, right?
I'll accept that.
It's so fucking good, right? But here's my thing. The difference between 0 and 1, as I'm getting close to the end of the book, I realize something. Pretty soon this book's going to be over and I'm not going to have Mishka's voice in my head. Like I could go back and listen to it again, right? But here's the thing. I've been following through this. I've been doing the 30-day thing, right? And there is at the end, what do you do after? But seriously, what's the key here? What's the most important aspect for me in this book? And really, what's going to be the most important aspect of your continued sobriety once this book is done and your 30 days are over?
I talk about it in probably the last third of the book. And for me, what it was for me was building a big life, building a sober life that was so engaging and took up so much of my time and my energy in a positive way that I was distracted from the thought of relapsing, and also like honestly, dude, like with this shutdown pandemic stuff, it's been so nerve-wracking there. And I'll be completely honest, because that's part of the process. There have been days where I was like, man, I'd go for a fucking beer right now, or like 90. I can't now because I have so much shit to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And in a good way. I have, my cat wakes me up at 6:30 every morning. I love her to death. She's special needs. She has, her brain stem didn't fully form, so she can't walk right. And she needs a little extra love and attention. It's adorable. Oh. But and I took that on. That's not something I could have taken on before. But, that relationship of caring for another being, I was able to welcome that into my life as part of my big sober life. Other things have been, running, ultra running, boxing, yoga, meditation. For me, I was always a rock and roll guy. Guitars, I have 1 million guitars. I've built my own guitars. I've built guitars for friends. It brings me so much joy. The DIY thing of like, well, my sink is leaking. I can pay somebody too much money to fix it, or I can figure out how to fix it myself. So going into that stuff, so it is, listen, man, if there were a way for me to just be there walking side by side with everybody all the time to help them get them through it, I would do it. But that's impossible. And what's more important is, it's like we need to learn to hold our own hands and to walk ourselves through life. We need to be the good voice in our own ears to say, yes, do that good thing. Do that thing that's good for you. Don't do that thing that's bad for you, And so, yeah, I hope that there are things that, there's wisdom that I'm able to spit out in the, in the book that people will carry with them forever. But mostly, the goal of the book is to try to get people to a point where they can stand on their own feet, or at least where they can see into a future where they can imagine themselves standing on their own feet,
Well, I'll tell you, when you listen to Mishka's story, and I did a ton of drugs and alcohol, but no way did I ever even come close to the amount of fucking consumption that Mishka did. And it's a miracle that you're alive. It's years. How many years?
How many years was I using, or how many years have I been sober?
Yeah. No, you've been sober now for what, 11 years?
Yeah, 11 years sober this spring. I started when I was 12 or 13, and then, and I was drinking. And then when I was 15, I was like drinking cough syrup to get high and shit like that. And then, towards the end of my using career, I was using Opana, which is basically like pharmaceutical heroin. And there were definitely some nights there where I was like, oh, wow, I woke up.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to wake up the next morning,
Yeah. So how many years?
11 years sober now. I was using for 17 years, off and on,
All right. It's an incredible amount of time when you hear, and then listening to you narrate through the story and all the things that happen. It's rock bottom after rock bottom after rock bottom. Like most people would be like, dude, like when is it going to be, enough? Right. So I guess my question here too is how much value, because look, I also agree too, at some point there needs to be an inner voice that's strong, that's resilient, that has some tools, that has some awareness, that has some hope, that knows there is another way, right? But there's also, like when you were talking about the guy that was a train wreck, and he ended up going into he did a competition with Joe Rogan. I think they were going to do some sort of
Bert Kreischer.
Yeah, okay. And what did they do? They did some kind of workout, some 30-day. What was that?
They did Sober October.
Okay.
But it wasn't like a healthy thing. It was like a frat boy thing of like, okay, let's see who can make the other person suffer more. So it's like they went into it in bad faith, right? They were like, we're not going to learn anything from this. The only reason we're going to do this is to make each other suffer. Still, coming out of that, I was on Bert Kreischer's Twitter the other day, and he posted a poll, and he was like, how many of you guys think I can run 50 miles in 2 days? And I was like, see, you went into that 30 days sober and exercising in bad faith, but something woke up inside you, right? There's like this, the animal part of us wants to be drinking clean water, eating healthy foods, running, exercising, exerting ourselves, having dreams, chasing dreams, coming up with new dreams, being engaged and active and participating in this world. And something woke up in Bert in that 1 month off, and now he can't shake it. And it's hope. That's what woke up in him, And, now he's always looking for bigger and better and crazier things to do, but it's not like, oh, what's the, how many nitrous balloons can I do in one night?
Okay, right.
Can I run 50 miles in 2 days?
But there's a component there of the social media bragging rights.
Right.
Okay. And so what was he getting in there that there's another dopamine rush he's also seeking seeking, which is, he wants people to get behind him, right? He needs in a positive way the approval of others, right? Like I'm doing this. Yeah, I could fucking go and run whatever marathon, whatever. But when I post it on social media, I hold myself accountable to all the people that are watching. And anytime somebody does, dude, nicely done, well done, right? Good for you, man. I'm going to do that. Anytime somebody posts, dude, you inspired me, right? What does that do for any person? Anytime somebody says, dude, you inspired me to stop drinking, you inspired me to start running, you inspired me to do anything, what does that do for our sobriety?
It's a huge boost. It's, people talk about like, oh, these sober addicts or ex-addicts or whatever, they need constant attention. They need constant validation. And it's phrased as a negative thing.
Exactly.
You know what? I go to see my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm having a shit day. Can I just have a hug? You know what that is? That's attention. That's validation. Those are positive things. That's human connection. That's what we're fucking here for, man, is to connect with each other. So like, if somebody shits on somebody like, oh, they're just doing that for the attention. You know what? We're all just, why are you and I doing this? We're all only doing everything we do for attention and validation. If you want to frame it in that nihilistic, shitty way of just saying like, oh, it's all, selfish and cynical. You know what? Like, that's the exact worldview I'm trying to puncture.
Yeah.
To say that, you could say, oh, somebody is doing it for attention or validation, but I say we're doing it for connection. And I think connection is a positive thing. And if you get connection from social media for being sober, for running every day for 30 days, or for going vegan for 6 weeks or whatever, fucking run to it, man. Take those likes. If it's helping you along your way to make better decisions, to feel better about yourself and your new life, man, whenever I have something I don't want to do, the only reason I got this audio book done is because I put up a bunch of writing challenges on Facebook. I was like, I need to get this fucking thing done. I hate getting my ass in the chair. I'm going to start a writing group. We're going to write for, you choose a chunk of time and just write every day. So I got like 300 other people to do it with me. That's how you finish a book. And and everybody benefited from it. You know what I mean? A rising tide, boys, all boats. We elevate each other. So I hate social media. It's a huge distraction, huge pain in my ass. It takes up way more, my time, but it can be a useful tool in keeping you on track, and keeping you moving in the right direction.
Okay. So really, that's my biggest point to make here, Mishka. Right? Like the whole, what's the difference between 0 and 1, and the whole example of the social media. And there's so many, and listen to my voice, right? There's so much guidance in the book, a lot of tough love, a lot of cutting through the bullshit, right? Where you're talking to yourself, but as you're saying it, it's just penetrating through every fiber of my being, just because of the depth of your voice. That's your genetic makeup, right? Like you have that very rich, powerful voice. As you say it, hey, cut the fucking bullshit. Stop lying to yourself. Stop drinking soda. Speaking of which, are you drinking a soda?
It's a seltzer.
Okay, fucker.
When I cracked it open, I was like, oh man, it's going to sound like I'm drinking a beer here. I heard that like.
No, it wasn't even a beer. It's like, if you're drinking a soda, I'm going to call you on this. Stop drinking fucking sodas, right? That's more poison than alcohol.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so here, my point being is that there must be an emphasis and an encouragement for social interaction, no matter where you're at, wherever you're going. Like when I'm done with one of my coaching clients, I'm like, we need to discuss what you're going to do next for your circle of influence. Okay. For you to thrive, the only thing, like we've given you all these tools, right? Like I do the same thing. When I coach somebody one-on-one, I give them a bunch of tools, right? When they're in the group, they get a bunch of tools. Well, actually they're already in the group. So fuck all that. They're already getting the social engagement. But here's this book that gives you all these tools. But the thing that's keeping me going throughout this book is Mishka's voice. So I feel it's so important. Once you leave here, don't go back and hang out with your shitty, fucking negative bullshit friends. You need to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage your sobriety. I mean, at the end of the book, Misha was talking about going to a bar or meeting up. I don't even know, was it a bar or you met with somebody who said, oh, you're substituting one addiction for another. You're substituting, drinking and using with running. And it's like, wow, what a piece of shit. Okay. Right. And I love,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, why? Like, okay, hey, peace out. Like, you are now officially excluded from my life forever, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would I hang out with these shitty human beings? You know what I mean?
One of the things that that I think is a staple of a lot of sobriety programs is changing the people around you, changing the negative people. And I had a really difficult thing that I had to sort of come to terms with in my own life, is that when I got sober, I didn't lose a lot of friends. I still had most of the people around me. And it was maybe like 6 years into sobriety before I realized I didn't lose a lot of friends because I didn't have a lot of people around me being like, come on, bro, take another shot, or come on, bro, let's get a bag. I was that guy. I was that person to them. I was the one who was like, all right, we've been drinking beer for a while. Now it's time to get shots, or I know a guy who's got Coke, or whatever the fuck, So I think that it's crucial for people to cut some people out of their lives, but John Joseph calls it the enemy mind. It's the person in your head who's like, fuck it, you've been a good boy. The liquor store is right there. Why not just grab a bottle? We're in the neighborhood. It's convenient. You know what I mean? That provides you with all these. That was the biggest thing for me, man, is because I'm good at telling other people to fuck off. I have a hard time telling myself you're wrong and you need to change. That's one of the things that that I have struggled with, and that's one of the things that I'm speaking directly to in the book. One of the things I want to touch on just before we scan by it is good on you for this. You will definitely see me drinking a soda at one point. I know how fucking bad it is. I know it's totally hypocritical, but let me exposit that here. All right. Let me cop to it here publicly, that a lot of the shit that I talk about doing in the book, stuff that I know is good, I still have a hard time making myself do it. I'm not perfect. I still struggle with sobriety sometimes. I was saying, with this lockdown quarantine shit, there have definitely been days where I'm like, well, what's the fucking point? That's part of the process. I want to be completely naked about that, completely open about that. It's not like I quit and went forward and never thought about, taking a drink again. I think about it all the time. Usually what I think is, man, I'm not gonna fucking do that. Are you crazy? Why would I do that? But every once in a while I was running the other day, and I was like, man, it's so hot and I'm so tired. I wish there was, and I'm so stressed out about this like coronavirus shit. I wish they had a cold beverage that was like carbonated and made you like kind of sleepy, but also like sort of, and I was like, yo, that's fucking beer, dude. And we've been down that, are you kidding? But it goes to show how your mind will just sneak that, so yeah, it still happens for me.
Oh, that's so fucking brilliant. That's so funny. I love it. All right. So look, let's give us a few of those life hacks, sobriety hacks, non-life hacks, sobriety hacks that you talk about in the book. Because once you get sober, right? So there's those that, while you're in the 30 days of sobriety, there's the first few days where you're like, let me give you I'm going to clear the deck, right? Do whatever the fuck you want, whatever you need to get past these first X amount of days. And then here's some other things you want to take a look at alternatively, right? So that you start moving in a better direction, right? So you start looking at other areas of your life to be more healthy.
So a big thing for me is pay your goddamn taxes, right? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about your emotional taxes. That we all get angry. And it's like the price of admission for living in a sort of modern civilized world is that it's like we're not allowed to yell and scream and get angry. But we live in a world that's full of things that makes you angry. You know, I mean, like I ran the coffee this morning without putting coffee in the coffee maker. So I like filled it up with water and then I went to drink and it's like hot water. And I'm like, man, fuck it. You know, like, but we live in a world where if you did that, just melted down at everything, then people would be like, that guy's insane, you know? But my feeling is that you can't do the LA thing and just be like Zen and just release it out into the world. But really what you're doing is you're trying to silence it. You're trying to just, you know, push the anger down, which we've seen how well that works.
Suppression and repression do not work.
Yeah. So let's try expression, right? Mm-hmm. All the shit that you get angry about, like go and run sprints. Mm-hmm. Just do push-ups until you're not as hard and as fast as you can until you're not. For me, I have a heavy bag in my yard. You know, every time somebody like cuts me off or like from the big things that I get like enraged about to like just little things of like, you know, I got a hole in my sock or whatever. Hit the heavy bag, work it out. I'm never more zen than I am after allowing myself to get as angry as possible, feel all that emotion, process it, and get rid of it. The other thing is fucking cry as much as you can, right? We've been given this gift, which is a physical process physical process for working through mental anguish. We make water come out of our eyes.
Yeah.
And then we feel better afterwards. So fucking just cry, man. You know, I cried so much in early sobriety, and I still now, sometimes if it's just like lack of sleep or something, or like a song will come on the radio and I'm like, and it's just like, yeah, man, just let it go. Just feel it. Just feel sad. Express it. Feel that emotion. Feel the sadness. Feel the grief. If it, bitterness, you know, betrayal, whatever it is that you've gone through. If you just stub your toe, just cry. Just let it out, man. And then afterwards, you feel so much better, you know. And if you're melting down at the end of a long day, it's your third day being sober, and you're bottling that up. Nah, cry as hard as you can, and then you fall asleep afterwards.
That like is a baby.
Yeah, it's like a gift after a gift.
It's such a gift.
I know it's weird for me to be the like, you know, gravelly voiced guy who's like in your ear, like, drop the bullshit, and then the next thing is cry, you big baby. But it's true, dude. It's like it's
one of the more endearing parts of the book, my friend. It is very endearing. It, you know, you talk about when you were like, you had your roommate, you know, in the same room with you, and you tried to control yourself and you couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. You know, do we need to know that a big, hulking, fucking fierce beast of a man is vulnerable enough to say, I could not hold in my tears. I had to cry. I had to. What you're doing is you're processing and you're releasing these emotions. You've been you've been repressing them and suppressing them your whole life because of all the programming and all the things you have to deal with. And I have to man up and I can't show my weakness. And it's all a bunch of crap that is not true. Okay. We've been gifted with this beautiful gift of tears. And for the longest time, only women were allowed to cry, right? It's bullshit. Right. Yeah. We all need it. Right. I used to come. I didn't like the sound of myself crying.
Yeah.
So I used to take a towel and I used to cover my face with a towel and I would cry into the towel so I wouldn't hear the, because it was just this sobbing that would come out. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know how to embrace it. I didn't know, but I couldn't control it. Right. So I just would cry into this towel, man. And then I'd be done and I'd go out like a light.
Yeah.
It was so healing, man.
Yeah.
You know, and also go ahead.
Well, one of the things I found too, you know, and this is sort of just my, you know, my informal research, is that like a lot of the people who are reaching out to me for how to get sober are guys, you know, from maybe 23 to 29 or something like that. And so I do think that there is a lot, you know, I could write a whole other book on this, and maybe I will, you know, but about what it is to be a man and to feel like you can't cry and that you have to be tough. But then also we're provided with the job opportunities that we're provided with now is like you just sit in a cube all day and like you do graphic design or something. So there's, you know, it's like we still have this antiquated understanding of like, oh, machismo, you know, like you gotta be stoic and like not cry and whatever. But then the, you know, the other shit of like, you know, hunting prey on the you know, on the plains or whatever, like, no, man, I ordered sushi through Seamless. Like, how does that reaffirm my masculinity? You know, so a lot of what I found was, you know, from the, you know, the young men reaching out to me is that there was also, they're drinking, there's a crisis of manhood there. And that's certainly how it was for me too. You know, I mean, encountering Charles Bukowski when I was so young, I was like, this is what a man is. This is what a man does. I couldn't have picked a worse guy, and I couldn't have been wronger, you know? So I try to do everything that I can to sort of upend that, to be like, yeah, real men cry, you know?
And yeah, it is a very important part of the book, because just like this conversation we're having, you know, we're, you know, demystifying 12 steps, you know, removing the stigma around addiction, right? And also demystifying this whole male, you know, this antiquated belief about how men should behave and act, right? Men don't discuss their feelings. You don't air your dirty laundry. You just fucking swallow it and you move on. And I think that's where murders and rapists and, you know, violence, it all comes from, because all that suppression has to come out somehow. And well, so go ahead.
And for women, in the same way that guys aren't allowed to cry and to express sadness, women are never encouraged to do like combat sports, to do MMA, to do kickboxing or boxing or wrestling or whatever. And that's one of the things I found from like, from doing boxing and kickboxing. You know, I was like working with my sister and I was like, well, let me show you a couple moves. And she was like, Mishka, I'm a mom. Like, I don't need to hit stuff. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You have 4 kids. You need to hit a lot of shit. And I got her into it. And then, you know, we were like training one day in Washington Square Park in New York. And a couple of dudes came up to me and they're like, you know, coach, who's your fighter? She's looking great. You know, and I was like, yeah, no, I know. She's like, she's kicking ass, you know, and my sister's a total badass now. And for her, so it, as meaningful as it was for me to be like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to go to yoga and then I'm going to have a real good cry and I'm going to have a great day. You know, it was meaningful for her to be like, no, I can't wait to go to this Muay Thai class and I'm going to fucking destroy that bag. You know, so it's this shit, that the emotional stuff in our lives that's closed off from us for whatever reason, because of our gender or, you know, where we're coming from. I think that's stuff that's super useful for us to explore. And that's how we become sort of whole, connected human beings, you know?
Yeah, no, the idea of, and it's one thing too, because I think also in your book, you mentioned about also raging out, right? Like actually letting the anger, if you're fucking pissed off, right? Like let it out, scream, right? Like there's that primal therapy, right? Primal screaming, where, you know, you get to this point where we're all, what was it? I think we started this fucking conversation. We're all too fucking nice, or we're all too PC, you know, or to, you know what I mean? Like, you know, nobody, you know, when do we start wearing suits, right? In the last 100, 200 years, right? Yeah. Like there was a time where, you know, there wasn't this PC, right? There was like kill your prey and eat, right? Or starve to death, right? You have to be able to engage, and, you know, you have to be able to connect with that instinctual part of you, or you will die, right? If you're just lollygagging around, not paying attention to the bear in the woods, it's going to fucking eat you. You know what I mean? So at some point, there is this moment where you're a mom and you've got 4 kids and you're doing homeschool right now, and there's nowhere to run, and you can't drop them off at daycare, or you can't take them to school, and now even your husband's home, you're going to need a heavy bag.
Yeah.
Or you're going to, you know, you got to be able to process this. And really, it's more of the idea of releasing, right?
Yeah.
So it's screaming, you know, taking like some sort of device or something that you can like hit a pillow, man, like anything where you can have a physical connection with something else to try and first, you got to move that energy. You've got to move that. Yeah. If I've got stuck negative energy, how can I get it to release? Like I hear about the miracles of hot yoga, and I've only done hot yoga a couple of times, but I tell you, man, I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. I'll never forget finishing a hot yoga class, because the entire time I feel like I'm going to die in the hot yoga class. I'm either going to suffocate, I'm going to suffocate to death, or I'm just going to literally die of exhaustion, or I'm just going to slip on my own sweat. Something is going to, and then you're done. And it's like, I've never felt more calm and more peaceful in my life.
If you look at it too, if you look at nature, this is a paradigm that we see occurring naturally again and again, you know, with the cycle of the seasons, you know, that like a plant blossoms and then it wilts, you know, the tide comes in, the tide goes out, you know. And so I think it's, you know, the moon fills up, and you know, it waxes and it wanes, you know, and so I think this is something that it's easy to conceptualize, you know, waking up in the morning and sleeping at night, you know, that like getting angry, expressing that anger, and then from there returning to being calm.
There you go.
You know, and not just to carry it at this, like, I'm at 9, at 10 I snap. I'm just going to hold it at 9. You know, it's like, no, just snap. Find a way to snap in a healthy, expressive way. When I started running, man, it was always just in a like, fuck you. And I would like lace up my running shoes, go out and like, you know, and I'd run as fast and as far as I could. And then finally the anger would dissipate. And then I would be like, shit, where am I? I gotta get home, you know? And that's how I became an ultra runner, you know, was just finding a healthy expression of that bottled up emotion.
You know, and so let's go there, because this is great. First, there's this, you know, releasing, right? And that's natural. Kids do this shit. Kids know how to fucking deal with trauma, right? They throw a temper tantrum, right? They go in there like, yeah, you can't go to Jimmy's house. What do you mean I can't go to Jimmy's house, right? You can't go to Jimmy's house. You can go tomorrow. It's too late. I got to Jimmy's house. And they fucking throw shit, and they throw themselves on the floor, right? And they throw this temper tantrum, and they get it all out. And then what do? Once they're done with the temper tantrum, they kind of soothe themselves. They start rocking themselves. Kids just naturally rock themselves, right? And then it's over, and they go back to doing whatever they were doing. It's like nothing ever happened. We're different. Once we've processed that anger, we have to do something with it, right? Or we'll just kind of, you'll hold that 9, right? Yep. So I have to process through. There's this great exercise that you do where you instruct people to make lists. Why you drank, why you don't drink, why you don't want to drink. Kind of give us a brief overview of that, because I think it's a beautiful exercise.
So, I mean, both as somebody, as just a human being who deals with sort of like depression and anxiety, and then also as a writer, I think lists are beautiful. It's an incredible way of like managing your head, managing your, you know, the flow of information, you know. And we can think of, you know, I want to call that X, you know, well, let me make a list of the reasons why I should, and the reasons why I shouldn't, and then suddenly when you write it down and you have all that information in front of you and you can see it clearly and it's not just in your head, it's like, oh, the only reason that I'm calling her is for sex. So that's one reason. Good or bad, that's one reason. Here's 9 reasons not to call her. Okay, now I have a different understanding of why, but I've found that as a way of managing my depression and my anxiety, particularly right now during the pandemic, the lockdown, all this shit, we have all this generalized anxiety that we don't know what to do with. But if you can organize it and just be like, okay, I feel horrible today, I'm just going to make a list of all the things that are bothering me. And I make a list of all the things that are bothering me. And it's like, well, I've been eating too much sugar. I haven't gone for a run. I need to clean the cat box, and global pandemic. All right. Well, there's 3 things there that I can bang out right away. Clean the cat box, go for a run. When I get back, don't eat a brownie. Instead, eat the can of garbanzo beans. And the 4th thing, the pandemic, well, there's nothing that I can do about that. Or the things that I can do about it are the first 3 things on the list. Manage my physical health and manage my mental health so that I don't get sick. That's the contribution that I can make to, it's both selfish and selfless. My contribution to this global problem is to not be part of the problem, right? That's all I can do. So, yeah, man, I'm looking at like 4 lists in front of me right now. I live and die by this shit. I can't take a shower without writing it down on a piece of paper first. And then when I'm done with the shower, I cross it off the list. There's no better sensation in this world than crossing shit off your job list.
There is nothing better than crossing off the to-do list item. It's a dopamine hit. It's fantastic. It's motivational, right? There isn't anything more timeless than lists.
Yeah.
Nothing. Throughout the years, through all the things that I've learned, and you've just heard yet another sobriety hack by Mishka, right? Okay. There's nothing. I remember when I first got into even the corporate world, right? And I remember one of my bosses, right? And he's got pads everywhere. He goes, "I'm going to give you the one secret to success that every successful entrepreneur, businessman, executive, they've all got lists. Every single one of them has tons of lists, no matter what's going on, right? We have lists. We write things, or you scratch things off, right? That's how you get shit done, right? And it's never changed. It's never changed. It does feel good. It keeps you on point, right? And it's so important, right? That it gets it out of here. It puts it on the paper. And then the only thing that your mind is there to do is to get you to get it done, not carry it around all day, reminding, oh man, there's some shit I got to do that I'm not quite sure, that I'm pretty sure I forgot. Oh my God, I should have written it down, right? It's super huge, super huge. So here's what I would say to you guys. Okay. So as you're listening to this, right? For those of you that, and I've got plenty of listeners struggling still today with quitting alcohol. This is a great book for you. It's highly entertaining. It's going to scare the crap out of you. It's gritty. It's grimy. It's raw, right? So I'm just going to put that all out there. But you're going to get to a certain point in this book where you're going to feel like Mishka's like walking right next to you. Okay? So let him walk you through, because so many people are just trying to get through that first 30 days. And I truly believe that Mishka's voice can get you through the first 30 days. When you're done, get yourself into a community. Find a community that works for you. I'm never going to encourage you to continue to do this journey by yourself. There is so much value in finding people, whether it's in social media, whether it's in your your local community. You need somebody to tell you, hey, dude, fucking great job. Like there is nothing more powerful than an attaboy. I don't give a fuck who you are, how much of a badass you think you are. There is nothing that doesn't feel as good as, man, you're doing a great job, bro. Like, I love what you're doing. Or like Mishka, like how we started this interview is like, well, I kind of started the book because I was getting so many people asking me, how'd you do it? Whether you like it or not, you've become someone that is looked to as a authority in sobriety, or they would not be fucking asking you, how'd you do it? And I got to own that.
Yeah. Let me double down on what you said about community there. I did a podcast recently with John Joseph. I love John. John said, you can't go it alone. I disagree with that. The point that I'm making in this book is that if you have to, you can. However, it's going to be so much easier if you don't go alone. Any way that you do it is the way that it can be done, right? There's a million different ways to get there.
There is.
However, it will be so much easier, even if if you just find one friend, if you find one person. I tell this story all the time. I'm driving down the highway in New Jersey, my little 1992 Toyota Previa, like maroon red, right? I see up ahead of me another 1992 maroon red Toyota Previa. I pull up next to the dude, this Hispanic dude. I honk, shave and a haircut, and he looks over at me and honks back 2 bits. And it made my fucking day. And that was like 6 years ago, and it's still bringing me happiness. It's still bringing me joy, because in that moment, I was like, yo, dude, I have the same van that you do. And he was like, I see you, man. And it was just, we didn't say we didn't exchange words to each other at all, right? It was just communication with the horn. I was like, I see you, you're like me. And he was like, I see you too, bro. And so, yeah, lean into community wherever you find it, whether it's on Reddit, a Facebook group, friends on Twitter. Ideally, you're going to find somebody in real life. But right now in this global pandemic shit, if it's just shouting at screens, do that. If that's what's available to you, do that. But it's so helpful, And I do think that there are a lot of times where I made it harder for myself than absolutely necessary. With getting sober and staying sober by being secretive about getting sober but I'm still glad that I did it that way, because it proves that it can be done. Whatever works.
Well, I got chills when you said, I see you, man, because what landed with me was, I see you.
Yeah.
And we all need to be seen, man.
Yeah.
We all do. Right? We're just naturally designed, to release oxytocin. The only way to do that is with human interaction. And it calms us. It brings us peace, so we need that element of being seen. Right. And why do you think Rich Rolls constantly asks you to be part of his community?
Yeah. Because he needs us and we need him and we need each other. And, I keep thinking of all these things that I should have put in the book, that it's important to help other people. It's also important to accept help.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's part of the connection, that there have definitely been times where I was in need of help. Earlier today, a buddy, who knows more about auto mechanics than I do, I was like, dude, the truck's not running right. He's like, cool, I'll be right by. And then he was like, hey, do you have a distortion pedal you're not using? Fuck yeah, dude, here, take this. And it wasn't some bloodless transaction of, us bartering, but he he helped me because he had the ability. And then I saw an opportunity to help him back. And like, we both walk away from it feeling good. He knows that he got my truck running right again. I know that he's going to go home and, record some, heavy stoner jams with, this, super aggressive distortion pedal. It's when it comes right down to it, man, it's real basic. It's real elemental, just connect with people.
I think so too. I think that, I read, I'll swear and make it up to you and, to your mom. And, just even in this book, right? I know how much pain and suffering you've endured in your life from childhood, all the depression, okay, all the sadness, right? And, man, we don't have to do any of that shit alone. Like just the idea of processing, trying to navigate through depression by yourself.
Yeah.
My mother's manic depressive. She's been manic depressive for years. And, the other day when I was, I asked her, I said, Mom, what's it like when you're depressed? She says, I pray that God just lets me go. Like, I just want to die. I just want to die because I don't know how long it's going to last. I know it's going to pass.
Yeah.
But in that moment, when I'm in that depressive state, I'm almost 80 years old. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, it's okay. You know what I mean? That fucked me up, man.
Yeah.
No one should be fucking dealing with that shit alone, and, you should be able to process it with people that love and care about you, or be able to get to a community that will fucking help you. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. When we started talking about the pandemic and we started talking about like, if this thing ends too soon, Donald Trump's going to take credit for fucking getting us through this. I'd rather fucking pull my fingernails out than fucking hear that. Okay. Yeah. All right. But what you just said there, it's like, I wouldn't change any of what I went through because my resolve is always that much stronger from and like, there's no way I'm going back to that. Like, I may romance, my brain might come up with an idea of concocting a litany of words that will describe a soothing, carbonated beverage that's going to soothe me and calm me down, and then come to the realization, it's like, my brain's coming up with a fucking beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know, but at some point when I land there and recognize it, it's like, I suffered so much in my life. There's no way any of that is better than what I have right now. And so for those of us, that's the cool thing about being a recovering or recovered alcoholic or drug addict, is that we recognize that we've been through the briar patch. We've been through the Vietnam War. 17 years of a living hell. Like, this ain't fucking shit. Like, I can sit here and jerk myself off and make myself believe that, oh my God, like, I got to have a drink for all this, and recognize that this is nothing compared to what I've been through, what my mother's been through. You've been through your own living hell. I went through my own living hell. It wasn't 17 years. It was 4 years of chronic cocaine, alcohol, weed, pills, whatever, right? Where I destroyed my entire life. And it was enough for me to go, I'm never going to go back there again. But in no way, shape, or form, right, do I think, you know what? I might be able to have one beer. And so I think that we got to kind of suffer through this, man. Like, this pandemic is, pull your fucking big boy pants, your big girl pants on, and recognize that the earth is screaming for us to listen and going, you kids are doing it all wrong. You're fucking it up. And the longer you stay here and the longer we have these conversations and the more we recognize that we need to care for each other more, love each other more, spend more time with the people that we love, right? Try and be better human beings and definitely take better care of the planet. Like, every single one of us that has a story like Mishka's recognizes that it's only through suffering that we learn.
Yeah. Unfortunately, pain is a very powerful motivator. that was the only thing that forced me to get my shit together. I just can't live like this anymore, man. It's killing me.
Well, I am grateful for your sobriety, brother, because of it, we're on this call.
Me too. Absolutely. And even the days where it gets, that's one of the things I was thinking the other night is, it's like never has sobriety been more challenging than right now during this lockdown. And never have I been so grateful to be sober, because if I drank a little bit right now, I would be drinking a lot, know. But instead, I'm like, okay, I gotta get something positive out of this. I'm gonna get back to running a lot, during this, or I'm gonna tackle the shed. I'm gonna organize all the shit that's in the shed. I'm gonna been meaning to fix this thing forever. I'm just trying to be productive.
I that, and we're gonna close with that. The idea that the best thing that I can do, and you said that when you were talking about the lists. The best thing that I can do right now is become a better human being in the sense of how I take care of my body, how I take care of my mind at this time, right? How I show up for the earth, for this world, is me doing more exercise, clearing out, doing some cleaning work, right? Clearing out the shed, maybe cleaning up my house, right? Doing things that are good for me. You talk about it in the book. Drink plenty of water. Even if you're going to drink a soda, make sure you drink some water, get some vitamin C. Get vitamin D, get some sun on you, right? It's just the basics right now. It's like the sky's never been clearer. The air's never been cleaner. So go outside and take a deep breath in, get some sunlight, do a little exercise, drink plenty of water, take care of your body so that the coronavirus is not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Really, if your immune system's up for it, there's plenty of people that have already recovered from it because it's a fucking cold. It's the people that have been eating fast foods their whole lives, drink nothing but sodas, are heavy drinkers, their body's just not equipped to deal with this. Like like what you wrote there, man. Like, here's those things I can control. I can't control the coronavirus, but wait, if I do these things, I'm actually contributing in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Mishka. So how can people reach out to you? How do they find you? How do they get connected with the book?
I'm at Mishka Shubaly on Instagram. I'm at Mishka Shubaly on Twitter. It's MISHKASHUBALY. I'm on Facebook. The audiobook, it's an Audible original available for free with your Audible membership for the month of May. It's called Cold Turkey: How to Quit Drinking by Not Drinking.
So good. So good. Mishka, what is one parting piece of wisdom you would like to share with our listeners?
How about this? Embrace hypocrisy as part of the natural human condition, right? In order to make it sober, you have to be very hard on yourself, and you have to be very kind to yourself. All right. So I challenge myself with that, Omar. I challenge you with that too. Be hard on yourself, expect the most from yourself, push yourself to take it to the next level, to do the next big thing. Be kind to yourself, nourish your body, nourish your mind, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself.
Beautiful. Absolutely perfect way to close. Mishka, thank you for joining us, my man.
My pleasure, man. We should do this more often, more than once every 6 years or so. Hopefully I'll be down in Costa Rica sometime. I'll look you up.
I would love to show you all of my haunts. They're all good haunts. All right, folks, we've now reached the end of our show. Thanks for joining us. And as we say here in Costa Rica, pura vida. Can you give us a pura vida?
Yeah, it's pure life, right? Pura vida.
done. And that's a wrap.
Awesome.
Dude.